The casual fan thinks the race ends here. They think the checkered flag is the period at the end of the sentence. They believe that once the champagne sprays, the trophies are lifted, and the TV cameras cut to black, everyone just goes home to sleep. But they are wrong. For the drivers, the race is over. But for the 3,000 unsung heroes of the paddock, the real race has just begun. And this race has no safety car. It has no red flags. There is no gravel trap to catch you if you make a mistake. If you lose this race, there is no Grand Prix next Sunday. Welcome to the logistics of Formula One. It is the most complex, expensive, and high-stakes magic trick in sports. Every single week, a traveling city worth billions of dollars is dismantled, packed into 1,400 tons of freight, flown across oceans, and rebuilt in a completely different hemisphere, sometimes in less than 48 hours. How do they do it? How do you teleport $100 million of prototype engineering halfway across the world without scratching a single winglet? Today, we are tearing down the garage walls. We are going to look at the blood, sweat, and jet fuel that makes the circus fly. This isn't just about moving boxes. This is about the miracle that happens while you are sleeping. Let's start exactly where the broadcast ends, the finish line. Imagine you have just run a marathon. You are dehydrated, exhausted, your adrenaline is crashing, and your body is screaming for rest. Now, imagine that 15 minutes after you cross the finish line, someone hands you a wrench and tells you to dismantle your entire house, pack it into boxes, and drive it to the airport. That is the reality for a Formula One mechanic on a Sunday evening. The FIA sporting regulations are brutal, but the logistics schedule is unforgiving. In a double header, that's 2 races in 2 weekends, the clock is the ultimate enemy. The moment the car crosses the line, the pack-up begins, and I mean the very second. While the drivers are still conducting interviews in the media pen, answering the same questions about tire degradation for the 10th time, the mechanics back in the garage are already draining the fuel tanks. They are stripping the cars down to the bare chassis. The chaotic beauty of the garage, the telemetry screens, the hydraulic lifts, the overhead gantries, the massive banks of computers, it all has to go. This is a process of surgical violence. The garage is hot, usually smelling of burnt rubber, carbon brake dust, and stale champagne. The mechanics are moving with a hive mind efficiency. They don't speak, they shout in short, coded bursts. They know exactly which bolt goes into which specific container. This is not throwing clothes into a suitcase. This is dismantling a bomb. A Formula One car is made of roughly 14,000 distinct parts. If one screw is missing in Miami because it was left on the floor in Baku, the car doesn't run. It's that simple. To combat this, the teams use a system that borders on pathological obsession. They use custom-molded foam inserts for everything. A gearbox doesn't just sit in a box. It sleeps in a laser-scanned bed of high-density foam, cut to the millimeter. Front wings are suspended in vibration-dampened racks that look like something out of a sci-fi armory. Suspension wishbones are clicked into velvet-lined cases. Every single item has a barcode, a GPS tracker, and a designated spot in a specific metal canister. There are priority pallets, the first things on the plane and the first things off. These are the essentials: the IT infrastructure, the chassis, the power units. Then there are the secondary items. By Sunday night, usually around 2 a.m., the glistening high-tech garage we saw on TV is gone. It's just an empty, stained concrete box. The echoes of the V6 hybrids are replaced by the beeping of forklifts reversing in the dark. The mechanics, who have been awake for 18 hours straight, finally climb onto a bus. They don't celebrate, they sleep. Because in 10 hours, they need to be in a different country, ready to build it all again. But this brings us to the logistics puzzle that keeps team principals awake at night. How do you move this much weight? Ships are slow. Planes are fast, but astronomically expensive. And Formula One operates under a strict budget cap. If you tried to fly everything, the tables, the chairs, the kitchen sinks, the heavy generators, the decorative wall panels, from Australia to Japan, you would go bankrupt in a month. It costs roughly $6 to $10 per kilogram to fly air freight. When you're moving 50 tons per team, the math doesn't work. So how does F1 race in Australia 1 week and somewhere 5,000 miles away 2 weeks later? They cheat time. They don't move one set of equipment, they move 5. Every team utilizes 5 identical sets of sea freight. These are the heavy items: the hospitality units, the cooking equipment, the heavy jacks, the garage paneling, the promotional banners, the miles of Ethernet cabling that go under the floor. While the cars are racing in Bahrain, the sea kit for the Australian Grand Prix, which is 3 weeks away, is already bobbing in the ocean halfway to Melbourne. The kit for Miami might already be clearing customs in Florida. The kit for Singapore is sitting in a warehouse in England, being repainted. It is a global shell game, a logistical ballet played out on the high seas. These containers travel for months at a time. They are shipped in January and might not return to the factory in the UK or Italy until December. That means the team has to predict what they will need 6 months in the future. Imagine packing for a vacation that happens in November, in March. You have to anticipate every cable, every spare monitor, every coffee machine filter. If you forget something in the sea kit, you have to fly it out later, and that eats into your development budget. But this creates a unique anxiety. If a sea freighter gets stuck in the Suez Canal, remember the Ever Given disaster? Or if a typhoon hits the Pacific, the race is in jeopardy. This actually happened in 2021. A delay in shipping meant teams didn't get their tires and fuel until 48 hours before the session. It was panic stations. Engineers were pacing the pit lane, tracking ships on their iPhones, helpless against the tides. However, the sea freight is just the furniture. The real magic and the real danger lies in the golden cargo: the cars, the engines, the computers, the front wings, the things that make the car go fast. F1 partners with logistics giants like DHL to charter a massive fleet of Boeing 747s and 777s. These aren't normal flights, these are flying vaults. Let's look at the timeline of a flyaway doubleheader. Let's say the transition from Baku to Miami. The race in Baku finishes at 5 p.m. By 10 p.m., the cars are stripped. The chassis, the carbon fiber tub the driver sits in, is bolted into a custom flight case. It looks like a coffin for a robot. By Monday morning at 6 a.m., the cargo is trucked to the airport. But this isn't normal airport security. The customs paperwork for F1 is a nightmare that would make an accountant cry. It relies on a document called the ATA Carnet. This is essentially a passport for goods. Every single serial number, from the steering wheel to the torque wrench, must match the manifest exactly. If a spare steering wheel is missing, or if a hybrid battery hasn't been declared correctly as dangerous goods, the whole plane can be grounded. By Monday afternoon, the planes are in the air. The golden cargo is flying over the Atlantic. Meanwhile, the mechanics are on commercial flights. This is the unglamorous reality. While the drivers might fly private, the wrench turners are sandwiched into economy class, trying to get some sleep, fighting jet lag that spans 8 time zones. They are the human element in this machine, and they are pushed to the absolute limit. By Tuesday noon, the build begins. Before they can even touch the cars, they have to build the factory. They lay down miles of Ethernet cables. They set up the servers that will transmit terabytes of data back to the factory in real time. They build the walls. They install the lighting. In 48 hours, they turn a slab of Florida concrete into a sterile, high-tech laboratory capable of running simulations that NASA would be jealous of. And they do all of this while essentially sleepwalking. This is the hidden cost of the calendar. We talk about driver fatigue. We rarely talk about mechanic fatigue. When you see a pit stop on Sunday happen in 1.9 seconds, remember, that mechanic might have built the entire garage on Wednesday, stripped the car on Thursday, rebuilt it on Friday, and slept 15 hours total in 3 days. They are running on espresso and sheer willpower. The pressure is immense. One mistake during the build, one loose connection in the telemetry rack, one crimped hydraulic line, and the car fails on Sunday. The reliability of the car is directly tied to the exhaustion of the people building it. We also have to talk about the data. the virtual garage. While the physical track is being built, a digital twin is being established. F1 teams don't just race at the track, they race from home. In the ops room, back in Silverstone or Maranello, dozens of engineers are connecting to the track via a high-speed data link. Setting up this link is a logistical feat in itself. It requires a dedicated IT team to fly out ahead of everyone else. If the internet goes down, the car is effectively blind. They can't monitor engine temps, tire pressures, or fuel loads. So, the first thing that gets unpacked is the server rack. It is the brain of the operation, and it has to be online before a single wheel gun is fired. But recently, the game has changed. The cost cap was introduced. Teams are now limited to spending about $140 million a year. And here's the kicker. Logistics comes out of that budget. Every dollar you spend flying a heavy spare part to Brazil is a dollar you cannot spend on making the car faster. This has turned logistics into a strategy game. Teams are now obsessed with weight. Not just the weight of the car, but the weight of the crates. They are redesigning their packing boxes to be made of lighter composite materials. They are reducing the number of spare bolts they bring. It forces difficult, painful choices. Do we bring the new floor upgrade to the track? It weighs 50 kilograms including the packaging. It will cost $15,000 to fly it there. Is it worth 0.01 seconds of lap time? Sometimes the answer is no. We have seen instances where teams have run out of spare parts after a crash because they literally couldn't afford, either in money or shipping weight, to bring a third backup. The budget cap didn't just limit the engineers, it weaponized the logistics managers. The person booking the flights is now as important as the person designing the aerodynamics. Of course, not every race requires a plane. In the middle of the season, the circus comes home, the European leg. This is the triple header, 3 races, 3 weeks, usually spanning countries like Spain, Austria, Great Britain, or Italy. For this, the planes are grounded, the trucks take over. This is the European road trip, a convoy of over 300 trucks, stretching for miles if lined up bumper to bumper. But these aren't just trucks, they are transformers. You've seen them in the background of the paddock shots, the motorhomes, the hospitality units. These aren't campers. These are 3-story, glass-fronted portable mansions. They have espresso bars, meeting rooms, massage parlors, rooftop terraces, and full commercial kitchens capable of feeding 80 team members 3 meals a day. The Red Bull Energy Station, for example, is a behemoth. It takes 2 days to build and requires a dedicated crew of construction workers who leapfrog the race team. While the team is racing in Austria, the base crew is already in Silverstone building the next mansion. They use cranes to lift prefabricated sections into place. It is a miracle of civil engineering that happens every 7 days. The truck drivers are the legends of this leg. They drive through the night, navigating tight Italian mountain roads or French toll booths, carrying cargo that is literally priceless. There is a famous story of a driver carrying a championship-winning car who had to sleep in his cab in a lay-by, guarding the truck with a baseball bat, because he knew there was $15 million of technology sitting in the trailer behind him. That is the level of dedication we are talking about. These trucks are also the front line of F1's sustainability push. The sport aims to be net zero by 2030, and the logistics network is the biggest hurdle. We are seeing a shift to biofueled trucks, more efficient routing, and a desperate attempt to reduce the carbon footprint of moving this circus. It's a slow change, but an essential one if the sport wants to survive. But despite the precision, things go wrong. In F1 logistics, Plan A almost never happens. Plan B is optimistic. Usually they are operating on Plan Z. Volcanoes erupt in Iceland and ground all flights in Europe. Strikes shut down French highways. Customs officers in Brazil decide to go on a slowdown strike. Weather systems divert planes to wrong airports. When this happens, the teams band together. On the track, they are bitter rivals. Mercedes hates Red Bull. Ferrari battles McLaren. But in logistics, they are a brotherhood. If a plane is grounded, they will share charter flights. If a truck breaks down, another team will stop to help transfer the cargo. Because they all know the golden rule: the show must go on. The race starts at 2 p.m. on Sunday, regardless of whether your front wing arrived or not. This resilience is what makes the sport function. It is a constant war against entropy. We also have to talk about the sheer volume of consumption, the consumables. It's not just car parts, it's fuel. Thousands of liters of specialized, chemically engineered fuel that is shipped in fireproof drums. It's tires. Pirelli ships 1,800 tires to every single race weekend. And after the race, every single unused tire is stripped from the rim and sent back to the UK to be recycled for energy. The rims are sent to the teams. The logistics of the tires alone is a multi-million-dollar operation. And then the food. The paddock consumes tons of food every weekend. Fresh produce, specific dietary requirements for drivers, high-protein meals for mechanics. Much of this is sourced locally to save weight, but the equipment to cook it, the massive ovens, the walk-in fridges, travels the world. So why do they do it? Why go to this trouble? Why spend millions of dollars to move a garage from one side of the planet to the other in 48 hours? Because Formula One is a sport of millimeters and milliseconds. We obsess over the drivers. We obsess over the aero designers. We look at the data traces and the qualifying laps. But the real miracle isn't that the car goes fast. The miracle is that the car is there at all. The miracle is that on a Thursday morning, in a humid paddock in Singapore or a dusty track in Texas, everything is ready. The walls are up, the coffee machine is on, the car is gleaming under the lights. The floor is spotless. When you turn on your TV next Sunday, look at the background. Look past the driver. Look at the walls of the garage. Look at the seamless perfection of the floor. Look at the screens flickering with data. Look at the headset the team principal is wearing. And then, remember that 48 hours ago, none of this was there. Remember that a group of people, running on caffeine and passion, built a cathedral of speed in a parking lot, just so two cars could drive around in circles for 2 hours. And as soon as that flag drops, before the champagne even dries on the podium, they will tear it all down and disappear into the night like they were never there. They say F1 is a traveling circus, but that's not fair. A circus has months to pack up. F1 does it in the dark, in the rain, on no sleep, across oceans, and they do it perfectly every single time. So the next time you see the lights go out, take a second to appreciate the race that happened before the race, the invisible race, the one that costs millions, breaks spirits, and defies the laws of physics just to get to the starting line.